Okay, there we go. Okay, so today's, I sent you both the email. Did you get that?
Yep.
It's all about personhood again.
Yeah.
I know I mentioned the very first one as well, because it's so important to me. And for everybody, in fact, all the people that we see in any case. And Gary, you will have this, people will lose their identity. I'm a cancer patient. No,
Mm.
you're a person with cancer. And we go back to, you are a person living with dementia. You are a person with ADHD. You are a person who has a disability, because we're all people first. And it is so sad how so many people do seem to lose their identity. Again, this covers all sorts of things. Mothers, if they decide to they don't work and they stay at home, they actually reduce what they do. I'm just a mother. It's terrible. You do the most important job out, looking after children. And it's very, very sad how all of us can tend to diminish our personhood, and how people can do it to each other with and not always intentionally. Of course, we know some people do it intentionally, but we don't see them. They're not very nice people. But there are, and people do like to do that. They belittle people. So I'm going to share a story, and I'll let you both think about what you think to this. And this is true. Okay. So a client of mine, and you're all going to have your own stories, all right, at some point when you see people. And Gary, you probably got them as well already, with people living with cancer. So my clients, he's 84, she's 83, 84. They went to the doctor, the new neurologist, because I'd recommended they went and rechecked their meds, because there was something not right. And I didn't understand their diagnoses, that it had been 10 years ago. He'd been diagnosed with prefrontal lobe dementia. To me, it wasn't. And I spoke to Dr. Daniel Nightingale, and to him, it wasn't. Because he was, with that kind of diagnosis, prefrontal lobe, he'd be dead by now. And he wasn't. And he was actually he's really quite, functioning still. Although there was some decline, and there was a lot of sleepiness, and there was a lot. And I just said, I really think you need to revisit this. And they went along, and the neurologist. So first of all, they made their appointment, and with the nurse, and they were outside with the nurse doing whatever. He came out and he said, well, your appointment time's up because you've been talking to her for so long. And he didn't speak to the husband, he spoke to her. And he said, because it's so he'll have to come back another time. He didn't meet him, he didn't greet him, and he just spoke to her. And he treated my client's husband. He treated him as though he was a complete, I don't know, nothing. And my client, as she said, I don't know where I found the will. She goes, I just heard you in the back of my mind, Claudia, saying, stand up for yourself and don't, And she said, no, we are here. And I didn't know that this 10 minutes talking to her was part of a consultation. She said, you did, I didn't know. So, and I demand to be seen now. And anyway, it was an appalling situation. He spoke completely, he didn't ask my client, the one living, I don't want to say any names, living with dementia, he didn't want to he didn't speak to him at all. And he said, well, you'll just have to come back in 6 months' time. And that was that. And she came out, and she was she was in a state, and his decline after that was awful. So I came round and I just said, right, that was just wrong. And I spoke to him, and I spoke, because tell me, what are you hearing there? What are you all hearing with that scenario?
To me, it's just that he was completely ignoring him. Like she was the caregiver and he was nothing
Yeah.
but an object or a, you know. So that's kind of what that felt like to me when you
It
described it.
isn't it appalling? And
Yeah.
can't you see how somebody would just get so depressed
Mhm.
and have all that fear back again, and like I'm just like a little child going along to an
Yeah.
appointment with my mummy like I'm 2 or 3 years old.
Yeah.
Disgraceful.
It is.
And I told them that. Anyway, they have found somebody else, and okay, so this man, he spoke hello, and it's like spoke to him all the time. And what do you think to this? And what is your opinion of this? Speaking to him as though he was a person.
Yeah.
So it just depends on the neurologist that you get. And again, he literally, you could see him again bounce back because his personhood had been recognized.
Yeah.
Isn't it interesting
Yeah.
how when somebody actually recognizes you as a human being, same, and it goes all the way through, not just people living with dementia, but everybody, children, when you actually speak to them as an individual, mothers, people living with cancer, as though you actually they're allowed to have an opinion, and it's just not everybody else's opinion. It's about making sure that they are validated. Have you had anything like that or go horribly wrong in your line of business, Gary, with seeing people living with cancer?
Do have some consultants that I would say don't have a good bedside manner. I mean, there's one in particular, one of the breast cancer surgeons. I mean, he is, I mean, he's very dismissive of everything. He was dismissive of my stuff and all the rest of it. Initially, I mean, the first time I met him was that when the head person or the teaching surgeon had said, "Oh yes, I can do my research." One of the nurses, one of the cancer nurses, said, "Oh, they have their meetings each week. You ought to come and attend the meetings, which are for the oncologists, the surgeons, the planning meetings. So I get to look at the diagnosis, what their plans are for the patients, and things like that." And the radiography reports and all that sort of thing, and the treatment plans, which I found really interesting. And it also meant that I could work out who were the more suitable patients for me. But the first time I went there, they said, "Oh, we need to take you down and get you to introduce you." And I wasn't expecting it. And they said, "Oh, the meetings are today." And I had clients booked in the afternoon. I paid for parking, all this sort of stuff. And they said, "Oh, come in the meetings today. Come down. I'll introduce you, and you can do sort of 2 minutes on what you plan to do, or 5 minutes on what you plan to do." And this day, this particular surgeon was actually chairing the meeting because the usual person was off. So I went in there and they said, "Oh, this is Gary Coles. He's going to do some research. He'd like to do just talk for 2 to 5 minutes to introduce himself and talk about what he's going to do." And this guy just looked at me and said, "Yeah, okay, fine. You can do that at the end of the meeting." And then I had to sit there for like 3 hours of them going through their stuff before I was allowed to do my 5 minutes. And I've since come across him that his mode of sort of breast cancer stuff is that he insists on having two offices next to each other, so that he can get a faster throughput. And what he'll do is they'll bring the next patient up. He'll say, "Hello, come in." Oh, they'll bring them into his office where he's there, and he'll say, "Hi, hello, who are you? Blah blah blah. Oh yes, will you get undressed? I'll be back in a minute." And then he goes next door and sees the patient that's there, who's now undressed, does his examination. "Yeah, thank you very much. Right, you can get dressed. I'll then go and make another appointment." And then he'll pop back to the one who's now undressed and see them. And it's to him, it's just like it's just like a factory setting, sort of treadmill sort of
Yeah.
thing. So that's I'm not impressed with his way of doing it, but he does get through a lot.
Well, and I suppose, yeah, so he's very efficient, isn't he?
Yeah,
That's
but
what
not
he's
not
about.
necessarily a people person. Uh,
No, no, and
And,
he probably
and another
can't.
thing completely unrelated from that, when you were talking about, once you start learning stuff, things come. Obviously, I found the research today, but bizarrely, I was contacted out of the blue on LinkedIn today from a doctor in London, interestingly enough, who specialises in that area. But I've looked into what he's doing. I'm not very impressed. He said, I come across your profile, impressed by your activities. And he said, I deal with optimizing brain health with cognitive decline in dementia and Alzheimer's, and thought you might be interested. But he does a thing called a Bredesen protocol, which I've looked into, and it looks to be rather controversial.
Okay. And I think I've heard of that.
Yeah.
But
Well,
yeah,
I've looked at Ika because he says to me, I'm keen to create some strategic partnerships with others who need assistance with medical workouts such as diagnostics, clinical assessment. Would you be open to having a conversation about the Bredesen protocol or referrals? Well, I had a brief look about the Bredesen protocol, and it's basically it's some counselling, it's some drugs, it's some exercise. So it's quite a mixture of stuff. But the research on it that I've been able to look at seems to be basically that it doesn't appear to do anything.
right. Okay.
I mean, I only looked into it for about 10 minutes, but it didn't look to be
No,
particularly
no,
useful.
because you won't necessarily be using any hypnosis with it.
No, so I just went back to him and say, oh, thank you very much. I'm already getting involved with this in our area, and based on the work of Dr. Daniel
Nicely
Knight.
done. Well done. Well done.
And left it at that. He hasn't come back to me yet.
No, he won't do. He won't do. Actually, they're so good. And as I say, so I don't know if any of you have been able to get this book yet.
I haven't yet, no.
It's not that expensive.
No, it isn't.
Get
No.
it. Get seriously get it. It's easy to read, and it'll give you help you all the way through. So that's can you read that, Carrie Ann?
Yes, I can.
I've got a picture of it in the Facebook group.
Okay.
So can you are you all going on the Facebook group? Put that research as well in there.
I just have.
Excellent. Awesome. So, and I'm going to start deleting the old meetings, that where I've advertised that, because otherwise it'll just clog it up, because we want it full of good stuff, not just when there's a meeting and that it's no longer on. So it's but this is very useful, and this is that. Do you remember in the first one I did that those triangles? I'm going to draw them again, because I want you all to get used to drawing these. Okay, when you're explaining, I always do these when I do a presentation as well. You'd have seen me do that in my presentation. Where's my big black marker? It's hiding. Okay, sorry. Okay, it's very helpful to explain this to our clients when we see them. The caregiver and the person. So we draw a triangle, and then we do another triangle like that. So a little triangle like that. So we've got 4 triangles, and it's in the book as well. However, we say this is what I can only imagine once we've got to know them, we've got to we've introduced ourselves. You might not do this straight away, but I just want you to know it so that you can draw it at some point with them. You'll know when the right time to draw this is. And this is what's happening for them right now. Their dementia is really in their faces, which means that their fear is really big. And it means that their anxiety is also really big. Can you see that, Carrie Ann? And it means that their person is really.
I had put it down before.
Yeah, you've written it down. And their person is really little. Okay, and it's just so horrible. And isn't it sad? As I said when I told you that story, he actually did it to that person.
Yes, he did.
I think it's incredible. Such a bad neurologist, very naughty.
Yeah.
But the other one didn't. And our job, okay, is that when we go to their house, because when I go to somebody's house, I find out all about them. Okay, they become the star of the show, if you like. And the reason why we go to their house is because it can be anxious making for them to come out of their house, to go to an office. It's like, well, where are we going? I don't know who this person is. And now it's like, you know, and it's just causes anxiety for both the caregiver and the person. You go to their home, then the only person with anxiety about getting there and with the car, you know, traffic and everything like that is you. Okay. So, but because people, they do, you know, they get worried about being somebody's house on time. I get that anyway. Do you work from home, Carrie-Anne?
I do. Recently, the last couple of years, I've been home.
Yeah. So I do it. So people, and I go, please, you know, I don't be stressing about the traffic, and that's not the idea. If you know, yes, our time is then, but it doesn't matter if you're a little bit before or a little bit later. I don't put my clients back to back. It's fine. Just get here safely.
Yeah.
And so again, so we go to somebody's house. Now it's their home. So they know their seat. They know all the smells. If they've got animals, they know they're comfortable, all of those sorts of things. They're comfortable in their own home. Yes, they are having a stranger come in. Okay. So that's why we make ourselves, we have the talk on the telephone, first of all. And we, you know, and you might even have a little chat outside. It's me, it's you know, I'm coming in. And they know you're coming. When I have often gone to somebody's house and there've been a few family members there, because they want to know, who is this coming in? And that's fine too. So we have to remember, because we're going to become part of the family. Okay. Because I think last time we mentioned about the roller coaster of emotions. So of course, the roller coaster of emotions, we've got children involved maybe, and they want to meet you. Okay. And and that has happened to me. And then of course, actually, they've all become my clients as well. So it's pretty good. Okay. As I say, you become a member of the family because you're getting involved. Now, this is something that they really like to understand, is that you're going to make the person big. And because they're in their own home, then they have their little hobbies around. They have their things. They might have their guitar or their violin or their saxophone. They'll have their albums. They will have their, you know, homey things around them. So they feel more stable. And then they can show them to you. Books. You know, they're things that, so we find out all about them. Oh, what, you know, about their reading, about all everything about them. There, I had one, again, the same gentleman. I go around, he's got the whole thing of guitars. He's got his room, and he's got his, he used to coach soccer. So the round ball, football, he used to coach it. And he all about that and the teams. And so I listen and I get interested and I ask questions. And it's like, oh, how long do you, so we ask big, fat, open questions, guys, you know, not just how wonderful and move on. Oh, where did you go with the teams? Which states did you travel to? Was there what, you know, you get really involved. Oh, look, I love the colors of the strip you're wearing. You know, who created that? It's like, and all of these big, deep questions. So they keep talking about them. And then what are we doing? We're reminding them of who they are. That's their life. So it's the big, deep, involved questions. That's why I go for 2 hours. I go there and he makes me a cup of tea because I'm English. He always says, and he always, and a spot of tea, he says. And I never said spot of tea. Do you say spot of tea, Gary?
No, not at all.
Yeah, but don't all Americans think we say a spot of tea? I never said a spot of tea in my life.
Yeah, I haven't.
Cup of tea, but not a spot of tea. And I don't drink it like that either. So, but it's funny. So it's like, but again, because he's been to England, so we talk about that. Oh, where did you go? You know, so it's all the little things. And Carrie-Anne, you would say, oh, you know, because you'll have more you know, different states. Have you always lived in Arizona?
No, actually, I grew up all over the world. My father was in the service.
Oh,
I lived, in Japan and Germany and all over the United States. So
Oh, wonderful. Okay, so that's brilliant. So now you have, so we use what we know, all right?
mhm,
And then we can
yeah,
always have a conversation with people because
yeah,
they may say, oh, well, I've been, and you say, so have I,
yeah,
So yeah, I
mhm,
used to live, my dad was in the services. So you see how you and I
okay,
would get into a
yeah.
conversation, and my husband now, he was ex-military. So, but
Oh,
that's why I lived in
okay,
America when I was a little girl because of traveling. And they last lived in Germany, their last overseas
okay,
tour. So it's like, can you see how we can now start talking about that?
absolutely.
And it's not
Sure.
just about
The
other stuff.
connection.
Yes, it's the
You make
connection.
a connection.
And then that's building the person. And and it is really important. And same with you, Gary. I can only imagine. I mean, I don't think, because if you've got an hour with people, you might not have that time.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's sort of hospital stuff. You don't even get an hour.
Yeah.
I mean, typically, it's an hour, including the person coming into reception, going through reception, perhaps taking notes, giving them stuff, a drink and things, and me actually finishing with them, writing up the notes and filing them. So in reality, and quite often they struggle to park. So in reality, I probably get 40 to 45 minutes.
Yeah. And it's just not long enough. But yeah, but to do, and it might be, but for the whole to build the personhood,
Mm.
it's like, so if you do you ever go to people's houses? Do you ever do they come to you?
First started, but then actually I went against it, to be honest, um, for a couple of reasons. I mean, one was the time reason is obviously, if I'm charging by the session, and I've got to do a 20-minute drive to somebody and then 20-minute to half-hour drive back again, that's basically two sessions. So so either I've got to put my price up quite a lot or not do it. And the other thing, just for doing pure hypnosis, I found that it was difficult to control the environment. You'd have somebody knocking the doorbell or the phone going off or, kids running around or other noises. So I didn't like it because I couldn't control the environment. But then I do more and more on Zoom now. So that's no real difference in some
No,
ways.
no. And you can do this on Zoom as well. I know Dr. Daniel Nightingale, he because I shadowed him on a telecall, actually, because the
Yeah.
COVID was on. And he doesn't do necessarily long sessions. He might in the first one, but I do. And
Yeah.
and I don't mind. And I do, so you can charge accordingly. I'm $325 for a session. My
Yeah.
first session is always 2 hours anyway. I don't
Yeah, so
know.
it's in the UK. We've got a problem with the charging because there's so many bloody hypnotherapists in such a tiny area. Um, uh,
and and counselors and people who
yeah,
pay.
and the average counsellor in my area charges 40 or 45 pound a session for an hour
Mhm.
around me. A lot of hypnotherapists charge sort of some hypnotherapists are charging 45, 50 pound an hour around me because there's more than 100 hypnotherapists within 10 miles of me. Um, and so, I mean, I think the average is probably £70 an hour or £70 a session in my area, with very few charging up to about 90. I charge 120
Yeah, and
UK
then
pounds. And I mean, a lot of people say, when I say that to people in Europe and the US, they say, oh, is that all you're charging? But I'm charging probably more than anyone else
yeah,
in the area.
no,
So I think I'd be struggling to charge any more because I do
I
get people that
and
phone
that's
and say, oh
literally
no,
on in Harley Street. And I agree. So when I last left, because I was in Yorkshire, and of course Yorkshire
Mm,
people are notoriously stingy.
yeah,
It was £60 a session, but actually I now, if I'm doing consultancy with my English clients, it's 120.
yeah. So that's what I charge. And so of course, if I was doing a house call, I'd probably be looking at saying 250,
Yeah, you would.
which you'd really struggle to get that, I think.
Yeah, you would. So so again, so what you'll have to do is to really condense it
Yeah,
with people about their personhood, so
yeah,
like Carrie Ann and I, because we can charge more here in America because people are used to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're used to paying private pay, and because it is your time.
Yeah,
Unless you feel this is just literally a calling. Sometimes, I mean, I am there for over, but it doesn't matter to me because I can, and
yeah.
so I am getting enough. But it's about, but you can do it quickly around that personhood, especially
Yeah,
in England. It's but for a man, it's very easy to talk about football,
yeah.
soccer. It's very easy. You can get straight into it. Oh, you don't do them, and because men always have banter about sports and stuff like that, or it's generally easier. Or for again, I mean, Gary, you've been doing this for so many years. You'll know how to make this work for you. But the idea is that when we make the person big, okay, we find their identity back, they suddenly realize, oh yeah, I did do all these things. Actually, do you know what? I used to be an accountant, or I used to be I was head CEO. I was this, I was that. And why am I letting this whole dementia thing get in the way? So our job, that then reduces the fear so that people can turn back into rementia. The dementia now goes into rementia, regaining of cognitive abilities. That is what the R is. And then the fear becomes small and the anxiety becomes small. Because when people are so busy with their fear and their what ifs, what if this happens, then what if, well, any of us can have not very much cognitive decline and start worrying, and then we start forgetting things anyway because our mind's cluttered with the what ifs, so we can't be clear-minded in any case. So we all know that actually we can do it to ourselves, become like literally a snow globe, too much going on, the overwhelm that so many people have, can't see the wood for the trees because I've got this to do and this to do, this list, this, and it's like, and they can and then what if that happens, what if that, you can feel the anxiety just building. So it's like, so we go in very calm, greet, and you start having conversations and find out all about them, and it's really lovely. And then you tell them what you're going to do, all right, that you're going to start, and then within that whole first session, we're going to go through this. We've got plenty of weeks to go through it bit by bit, but we're just doing it little stage by little stage to really hammer home some of these points about, and this is all helpful with everything we do anyway. Everything we've covered is helpful with all the kinds of people that we see. So about making the person feel important and building up their identity again. So any questions on this? And it's in the book as well, Dr. Daniel Nightingale's book.
Yeah, I've just ordered that.
Good. And you'll enjoy it. I know it's I enjoyed it. I don't think Beryl enjoyed it that much, but she's a proper linguist.
Yeah.
I'm not, so
Well, I'm not sure I am anymore. It's something that really startled me the other day, and it was I've been involved in sort of COVID testing, health testing, and stuff like that, research. And they did a follow up for long COVID and things. And one of the things that they said they wanted to do for health reasons, wanted to do a lot of cognitive testing. And I thought, oh, great, I'll be really brilliant at this. And okay, admittedly, it was after a very long day at work, and I was a bit tired and not very into it. And I just thought I want to smash through it as quick as possible. But it was about 25 minutes of stuff, and there was things like sort of spatial awareness, moving 3D stuff around, pattern matching, memory, planning abilities, language, and sort of all sorts of stuff like that. And I thought, oh, it'd be really great to see how good I am. And then sort of planning, and they drew me this graph sort of thing. My planning was in the top 2% of the population. And then there was a couple of other things were sort of like about top 30, but when it got to things like language and cognitive abilities and whatever, it all come down in bottom 50% of the population. I was astounded. What the hell's going on?
Yeah, it is quite interesting, isn't it? How that test, so what test was that?
I don't know. It's
Got
something
it.
yeah, it was something. No, it was something the NHS sent me online that I had access to.
Wow. Okay, so that's interesting. So I don't know if you can get hold of that, put that in.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
But
Because
I was just gobsmacked. I thought, God, perhaps I've got it already. You know,
yeah,
because
no,
I thought my cognitive abilities, I always sort of thought are really good. You know.
so when we and we will be doing the test and we'll all be practicing it on each other, but it's not like that. We'll be doing the mocha test, and you
Yeah.
can get it now anyway. It's available on Google. You can just Google it, because anybody can do them. But it's not as so it is interesting that they are doing one, a great big in-depth one. This we don't diagnose. I think I said that last time as well.
Yeah.
We don't diagnose. It's just as a baseline to show so that we can see how the client is improving when we do it. And we do it in that first session when we see somebody. So we generally see people for 6 sessions. And then after that, you may carry on being their support system. So just know that this is like a 6-session thing that you'll be doing with people. And then and I still see my clients pretty much once a month, as just to keep in the loop. They know I'm there. I can do any firefighting, of issues that come up, remind them of anything. And because as things progress, so there is a support system for the caregiver as well. So it's any I'm going to just go through what we the thing I sent you. Did that make, oh, I didn't put my code in properly. Did that make sense, what I sent to you?
Yeah, printed it out, got it here.
Oh, you got it, printed it
I've
out.
got it here, and I've now got a folder, and everything gets put in my folder.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. So it's I'm going to make a big file together to put them in for everybody. Yeah, and it's about respect, really, and treating people as people. I think it's just so important, and then reminding as well the caregivers to do that. And this is why when we draw the diagram with the caregivers there, because they're going, ooh, because sometimes they may find that they're talking about the person to one of their children, say, or somebody else who's come in to help or whatever, and they're talking about them as though they're not there. That's terrible. They can still hear, probably, but they're just like, it's hearing is the last, unless somebody's deaf, I suppose, but hearing is the last sense to go. It's the first sense that we get when we're in the womb, because we can hear what's going on, and it is the last sense to go. So even as somebody is fading and they are dying, they can still hear you. They can still hear you, which is why it's nice to say nice things as somebody is passing. So it is interesting. That's why when we go in, we can go in and explaining this, and then they're going, oh, because then they start to take a little bit of responsibility, and that's what we want. We want them to take responsibility and get their own light bulb moments and go, ooh, okay, I'm not doing that. And the way we do that really gently, if you think that might be going on, or they've done it, they've just done it, they've arrived and they're going, oh, well, she's over there, but right in front of them, they've got a name. It's like, so it's like, so you go, hi, Bill, and you start really making it obvious, so that because they will learn from your behavior. And then what I have done before is to tell a story about, oh, this other person did this, and then they're like going, oh shit, I do that as well. Okay, it's always a good way to get a point across by saying what somebody else is doing, even if it's made up. It doesn't matter. The fact is it manipulative? Yeah. and it doesn't matter because you're getting your point across, okay, in a really subtle and gentle, kind way. Because we're not there to go and tell people off and say you're making a, because they're doing the best they can with the knowledge they have. And they're just not aware. That's all. They're just not aware. So it has to be okay as well. We're not here to judge. We're not here to go, you know, you're an appalling caregiver. You know, it's just like, how can we do this better? I'm here to help you and show you how you can. So I've got a client who points at her husband, tells him off. He might be getting angry, but she points back. You. And so I did actually have to say, do you know what? When people are doing this, I mean, what does that make you feel like? Right, carry on. You need to do this. And I want you now to
feel like a child.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm being reprimanded.
Yeah, exactly. Right, Gary. Right. Gary,
Yeah.
you drink too much. You need to stop drinking
I know
beer. Okay.
Don't tell me something I don't know.
So what does it make you feel like with me pointing and saying that to you? What's that like?
Well, yeah, it's childlike, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. And actually, in NLP terms, what we're doing, as Beryl told me, we are literally unzipping somebody. You're undressing them. You're making them feel vulnerable. And as you both said, like a child. Isn't that awful?
Yes.
I tell you, so I must admit, when somebody points at me, I just want to bite their finger off. In fact, next time somebody, I'm so naughty. Next time, so I turn into a child. Well, they just made me into a child, haven't they? Right? Yeah, because they've done that to me. So I'm a child. So now I get to bite their finger. So it's like, because it is so annoying. So what do? We zip them back up. You will often find me doing this in all of my sessions. Actually, I would just raise people up. Lift your hands up. And actually, Gary, you can introduce that even so easily, because it's not just what we say. We all know this. I'm just sort of like saying it again, but it's not what we say, it's how we say it. And if you're saying it like that, that's horrible. Okay, so you're undressing somebody. So I did. She got rid of that, and I've invited her. I said, you know, let it go, let that one go. And if you need to use your hands, raise your hands. Okay, because you're dressing somebody back up. So now we're making them less vulnerable and we're building them back. Okay, does that make sense?
Yes.
Because it's all in the tone of voice. And it's so funny because I know you guys will know this, but as I say, for the purposes of learning, it's not what we say, it's how we say it. So you may get somebody, your caregiver, saying, well, yeah, but all I said was, do you know where are your pajamas, or have you forgotten where the toilet is, or where is, you know, just something, all right, or we're going out soon, you know, we're going out, or they might say to you, oh, we're going out soon. No, do you know what, they probably said it like this: we're going out soon. All right. So let me just I'll just, again, to really hammer the point across. I'm so happy. I've just won the lottery. And I can't wait to celebrate it with all my friends. In fact, we're going to have a great big party. And then I'm taking really close family on a cruise. I'm really excited. Okay, right. I'm so miserable. I have just had a diagnosis, and I've got 3 days left to live, and I have so much more left to do on my bucket list, but I'm not going to be able to do any of it. Yeah, I'm really sad. Completely incongruent, isn't it? Completely incongruent. So it's not what we say. It is not what we say. It's the body language. Yeah, it's the, and again, perhaps you might like to take note of this one, because I don't think it was in that. when, and I'll possibly say it again, when we are speaking to somebody or coming to help somebody, anybody, if you do know their more dominant hand, go to that side to approach them. Because of the whole fear thing. Most people are right-handed. What are you, left or right-handed, Gary?
Right.
What are you, Carrie Ann?
I'm right-handed.
Yeah, I'm right-handed. Okay. So most people are right-handed. Okay. I mean, it'd been very rare if we'd had 2 left-handers on here and 1 right-handed. Yeah.
Yes.
But we've got all 3 right. So it's so most people are right-handed. So approach them on their right side. And it goes back to our limbic system, caveman days, because the right hand could have been the one that could to protect you. Okay. So they feel safer if you approach them on their right side. Anybody, any child, anybody. If you come to their left, they'll be more edgy and more fearful. Okay. Anybody.
Yeah.
And if you're, again, if you're not sure, you know, because you're asking them to sign something, you'll see. You can always ask, you right-handed or left-handed. That doesn't matter because you're getting to know them. It really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But when this isn't a guessing game, it doesn't need to be difficult for us. We can literally find out. So then, you know, and as I say, you can put that with everything, all people. So it's very useful to know that. And again, same with tone for all our clients. You know, it's if you're seeing people, you know, and again, you know, Gary, people, it's how that person, the consultant, gave them their diagnoses.
Yeah, and often badly.
Yeah. I don't even give the eye contact. And so again, when we are with our people, we give them eye contact. And we're all really good at that. And we shake their hand. And I hug mine. I hug my clients. No, and it's just, you know, and it's just like, and you know, as I said, you become part of the family, and it's just really nice. I don't know if you're allowed to do that in the hospital setting, Gary.
Typically, no. I mean, I've had patients hugging me, but yeah, I've not gone to hug a patient.
Okay, yeah, and I don't know, it might possibly be easier for women to hug anyway.
Yeah, I'd have said so.
Because it's less invasive. It's in, yeah, no, it's good. Are you a hugger, Carrie Ann?
I am, and interestingly enough, I always like to hug on the left side, left to left, because energetically, when you muscle test, you're always stronger when you hug on the left. Heart to heart. I always say, "Oh, I want to give you a nice heart-to-heart hug."
Oh, that's lovely.
That's usually what I say.
I can see you being a really good hugger.
Yeah.
You look very
cuddly.
So yeah, that's really nice. Okay. And again, another thing, so what we say to our clients as well, the caregiver, is that they are the if you like, the temperature. They will give their own person the lead of how to be. So if your caregiver is grumpy and sad,
yeah, then
you're going to more likely have your client living with dementia who's grumpy and sad.
Yeah.
So it's called the co-regulator. Okay, that is what your client is. They are the co-regulator. Just like, again, any spouse of somebody living with any kind of diagnosis. And in fact, we've both been married. All of us have been married. We know that what it's like if our partner is grumpy and moody, it's like, well, it's not very nice, is it? Kind of can put a dampener on us. Yeah. It's like, oh, you think, oh, I don't really want to be around that. Okay. So it's so it's the same for them, and they need to understand. And of course it is hard, because yes, they might well be, but it goes back hand in hand with what we were speaking about last time with the roller coaster of emotions. And if the caregiver is still in anger, yeah, because their life has been ruined, if they're still in depression because now their partner's going to go through this, and fear themselves, and then that is why they might want to see you for a private session. And that might be where you can help more than Gary with that, with actually probably the caregivers, okay, as opposed to necessarily the person living with dementia. It's, albeit with the hypnosis, because you can, Gary, you can do hypnotherapy on people with dementia. You can as well, Gary, because you're in Arizona.
Yeah,
I'm in North Carolina. So I do guided meditation instead. So yeah. And we will be doing some of the weeks when I'm not able to be on here because I'm at I don't know, in Ireland or something, I'll have done a pre-recorded one. So it's and what I'll probably do is a hypnosis session, so that you can actually have a hypnosis session, all right, and see what it's like, and see whether you want to do that. And you can we'll just do a bit of discussion about it the week after, how what you could do, what you could make it better, you know, add to it, take away from it, or just whatever. But that's probably the kind of, I'll have to be doing something for the weeks I'm not here.
Yeah, I'll be in Ireland with you, obviously.
I know. So I'm actually training the bunny talk process on that Monday. So
Right.
So that's in April. But there's just going to be some times, I know there's one in March as well. I'm just not going to always be able to do the Monday at 1 o'clock. So I'll have to do a pre-recorded thing. I'll have to get creative, Carrie Ann.
yes.
and do something. And that's fine. You know, it's like, because that's just the way the way it will be. Because 52 weeks to fill that is a lot.
It is a lot.
But by then, towards the end, you will be coming in with some of your case studies, some of people, or so we'll be discussing. And at some point, as I say, I'll be getting people in just to speak as well on some of the weeks. But right now, we're doing all of the stuff so that you feel really armed and ready to be able to say, I can work with somebody with living with dementia and the caregiver. Okay, yeah. So we're doing all the stuff so that you feel comfortable. Yeah. And we've got time to do that. So yeah. So we all understand about the person, and again, it ties in quite nicely with what we did last week about the roller coaster of emotions, because it's about bringing that person back so that they have their you know, they know their identity. It's, who are you? And there's another interesting thing as well. It's again about the language thing. So many people, I don't know, and they do this a lot in England, of course, and I have done as well. So I'm from Yorkshire, and we go, and it's like, yes, love, all right, and dearie, or you could say, all right, chick, all right. And it's like, there's lots of little names that people can call people. I don't know if they do that here in America. What do people call each other, little pet names?
Not a lot, but yet I think sometimes I don't know that I do that a lot, but I think they could say, I don't know. They might say, oh, sweetie, or, something like that. But
yeah.
I'm not, but I do know, I've heard, English speaking people use the names that you just said, love, or,
Yes, love.
that kind of thing.
And it's and it's just where we're from. However, we have to be mindful that they have a name.
Yeah.
And that at some point, okay, they might have got a diagnosis of dementia, and they may even still be working, depending on what age they are. But it doesn't mean that we suddenly get to call them honey pie, or and treat them like a baby.
Well, sometimes you might say those things because we forgot their name. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, what's that person's name,
And this is true, but if they're our clients, we generally remember.
Yeah, we usually do.
And you're right. It's like, I mean, what if you've forgotten somebody's name? What do you do now? Out of interest.
Ooh, just bluff it.
Typically, what I will do is I said, please, can you help me with your name? I'll do that. Like, I need some help. Could you help me with your name?
Yeah.
That's kind of the kind of thing.
So if it's with a client, I'll always have their notes in front of me. So somewhere on it, or like the front will be their name. And
Right. Oh, yes.
Sometimes I'll just turn it over and look at the front.
Yeah.
They're looking as though I'm just sort of revising on something, whereas I'm looking at their name and then going back.
Right. But if you're out and about, or you happen to run into the,
Yeah.
of course, like
I know
you're with them a lot and you're with their families, and it's a whole different story.
Yeah. Well, sometimes I've given people different husbands. And they're looking at me and go, oh, that's not your husband's name, is it? And I go, would you like him instead? Oh yeah, that sounds much nicer than the other one.
Oh, that's good.
So
I think we have to make light of it and have to.
Yeah. And if I bump into somebody and I've forgotten their name, I just go, oh, I'm Claudia, because I'm going to make the assumption that they forgot my name.
That's very good too.
So just in case you forgot my name, I'm Claudia. And it's like you go, oh yeah, and I'm because they just do naturally. It's because I wouldn't. Why would I presume that somebody would remember me? Yeah. It's so and that makes it easier. Or again, I can just say something like and I can be quite honest. I'm so sorry. I've completely, or we always, I'm rubbish with names or whatever. I always take somebody's face in first and then I do names. But actually, there is a way to remember names. Would you like me to tell you all how?
Yes, I've learned some. Yes, go ahead. Tell us.
Okay. So when you're introduced to somebody, all right, you say their name back. You say, hi, Carrie Ann. Nice to meet you, Carrie Ann. And Carrie Ann, I love your yellow top. It's absolutely stunning on you. I really love that. Lovely to meet you, Carrie Ann. I've said your name 4 times.
Okay.
I won't forget your name.
Yeah.
But when somebody literally, so go, Gary, introduce yourself to me. I mean, I know you're Gary, obviously, but it's like, just say.
Yeah, hang on. So I've just got a call going. I'm just trying to reply to somebody.
If he says to me, hi, I'm Gary, I just go, oh, hi, I'm Claudia. And then we carry on talking. It's gone. But because I've said, Carrie Ann, hi, Carrie Ann, nice to meet you. Oh, I love your yellow top, Carrie Ann. It's absolutely stunning. I love how your earrings match with it as well. That's amazing. How beautiful, Carrie Ann. Now I'm anchoring you into yellow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I've already anchored you into hugging. And you remind me of like a cute little chick now. So it's like now. So now it's like and it's about anchoring somebody into something.
Yes. Now, one thing that little class or whatever that I took about remembering names, they said whatever the name was, make a picture or something, or a character above their head of whatever, you might see me as carrying something, or just associating somehow with an object, or something.
So again, brilliant.
Yeah.
That's what we can do. And that's how we can also play little games.
So I might, with you, I might think of a big claw, right? So I mean, that's not a pretty picture, but it's like
Make
I
that a bit
could think
nicer.
of a claw. I could think of a claw in relationship to your name. If
Claudia.
I give it a picture.
Claw.
So it's just about picturing things too.
Name.
But we would make it a really nice, beautiful claw.
Yeah,
Like,
paint,
have a
paint a little
beautiful,
Oh, okay, that's
something like that. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you make me laugh. Okay, so next week I will send this out again. And what are we doing next week? Let me just find out. It should be good fun. It's always good fun. Okay. Okay. So we are doing okay, we're going to be doing the environment, and okay, good. Okay, yeah, so we're going to be doing about their environment. So again, that's why the importance of going to their house. Okay. And so we'll be doing that, and I'll be sending you out the information just before. Okay. So music, environment, noise, all that sort of stuff. All right.
Okay.
So it's just little nuggets, and it's just easier to learn. You've got the stuff, and then we're talking about it. Okay.
Yeah.
Is this
Yeah, as I say, I'm not totally sure whether I'm going to be there next week, or if I am, it will be going early because I need to be in Guildford for a show about half an hour after we finish, which is tight. But I might be going to eat there first. So
no, you go. We can catch up. That's not a problem.
Yeah.
Not a problem, Gary. Okay. Anyway, so take care, everybody. See you.
Claudia, I did want to ask you one thing about like, are we meeting Christmas week, or I don't know what the days of Christmas and stuff are.
It's a Wednesday, so we're meeting on the 23rd. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm it's my wedding anniversary, but yeah, I'm up for it.
Oh. All right.
My husband's working, so it's fine. I know who gets married on the 23rd of December, right? So it's
a Christmas wedding.
A Christmas wedding, I know. It was lovely. Okay. See you all next week. Yeah, and it'll only be for the hour, and it'll be fun. We'll come, we'll wear Christmas jumpers.
Yeah.
All right. Take care, everybody. All right.